Hello everyone and welcome back to Is That Brandon Sharing Thoughts. So this is a random episode, a very random episode, and I thought I would, try a different platform or try a different medium, something that I've delved into this before, podcasting, talking, things like that. But I think my head's a bit all over the place, so I needed to just do something to just be able to talk freely about anything, everything, nothing, just sit, make jokes, feel sorry for myself, whatever. So I decided to just do a podcast, and I've got a few episode ideas, so I'm just going to roll with them, see how they do, and we'll just go from there. So I think the thing that made me want to create a podcast in the first place was obviously when I was younger. I was bullied a lot at school. I was taken the mick out of. I was just the generally fat kid at school. So, having gone from that to feeling a little bit better in myself is kind of, that's a win. But I thought the whole reason I wanted to start a podcast or reignite the podcast I'd already created is because I do just genuinely like talking. I like talking. I like being able to share my thoughts freely, and I'm not going to delve into the more complicated topics or the controversial topics because that's not who I am. I've never been someone to speak about politics, religion, laws, things like that. It's not that I don't have opinions on it. I just don't want to, broaden those opinions to public knowledge. I think it's more of just, I'll talk to my friends about these things, or I'll see things online and go, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that. But just generally, I just try and avoid all of those topics, to just stay neutral, basically. So anyway, back to my podcast episode. So I obviously went to university throughout the years of 2017 all the way up to 2020. That was the COVID year, so I didn't actually graduate until 2021. Since 2021, I've kind of been in and out of different jobs. So 2021, so I actually started a recruitment job in April, and I actually started on my friend Ben's birthday, which was very interesting and quite ironic as well. We were just on video call, and I had this random phone call come through, and it was an opportunity to work for this company to do recruitment, and I ended up working there for just under 3 years, quit there just before my birthday of 24. And then, since 2024, I've now been a logistics and operations admin kind of job, again, for another company. So, and presently still here. And, I think that's kind of, in terms of the most detail, I'll be going into my work experience. Obviously, if you've got me on LinkedIn, then you'll probably know a bit more. Or if you work with me, or, if we're friends on the outside world or the real world, then, But I think in just terms of life, I'm just going to learn to just not share as much. I think, again, it's just finding out what different mediums, what different platforms work well for me. So I have moved my podcast to my YouTube channel. I did actually have 4 YouTube channels, which I now only have 3. So I've got a main account, I've got a vlogging and kind of project account, and then I've got the music and singing and covers and that sort of account, which I do want to start using a lot more. So I have started writing new music or demos and, little instrumentals and, little riffs and things. So I don't expect anything, and I don't want anything massively to happen. It's more just, I just write because I enjoy it. I write because it allows me to get out of, the real world for a little bit and just go into a more creative zone. I think with podcasting, I think genuinely, because I'm so much in my head all the time, I think it's definitely something that will help me just get my ideas and my thoughts and, things back out of my head. So, anyway, back to the whole reason I restarted this podcast. So I was just thinking about university and, all the many great nights out I had and all the people that I met and all the men that I spoke to and, all the opportunities I was part of, and kind of like, how people have like not a biography, but like this is what I did during this year and this year, this is what I did during the months following after that, and then I appeared on this show, appeared on that network opportunity, appeared in this TV advert, whatever. And I just thought back about all these events that I went to, or most of the events I went to, even up till where I am now, kind of, I'm going out, but I'm doing different things rather than clubbing and the partying, and I don't drink anymore. I've never touched drugs or substances of any sort, so I've always been good in that respect. But there was this one type of outfit that I would always wear, and it was a black leather jacket with either black or blue jeans or jean shorts, and then like I call them click-clock shoes because as you walk they click-clock, click-clock. So yeah, there was this one jacket that I used to wear. I think it was when I first moved to this place where I'm living now, kind of just outside of London. I met this guy and, you know, we were meeting up, you know, going for drinks or meeting at the bar or playing tennis or whatever, and he just gave me a couple of his old jackets that he was like, oh, I don't want them, so you can either have them to either keep or sell on. One of them I sold on, that was Calvin Klein. I don't wear branded stuff. And the other one was John Pascal, which is also branded, but it's like a French brand, so I didn't really know what it was. But anyway, it was a great jacket. I wore it to so many great opportunities, events, you know, nights out, and I'd have so much feedback on it saying, oh, it's a lovely jacket, it's a really nice jacket, la la la. But as of 3 weeks ago, it is no longer in my closet and has now been sold to some random person on the internet for £1, because I think for me, it's not that I get bored of things quickly, I think I just worn the jacket out so much that the collar started, because obviously it was fake leather, that the collar started kind of falling off. The arms were great, but, you know, again, you could just see the material coming off of the jacket, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to just get rid of that jacket. So it wasn't of any cost to me anyway. I didn't buy the thing, I was just given it and made use of it over the many months to follow. But yeah, so that's gone from my closet, and that just made me think, hang on, why don't I just make a podcast where I talk about the leather jacket, or, you know, get into a little sing-song and have a little sing-song about the leather jacket that I once had, or something like that. Just turn these things and these thoughts in my head into something just for myself, because at the end of the day, this podcast is just for me, really. You know, if people want to listen in, or if they want to chime in, or, you know, if people want to come on and talk to me or talk at me, or, you know, I talk at them, or we just ask questions to each other, then I'm absolutely down to do that. But like I said, for me, podcasting is that kind of, for me, it's going to be a bit more of a safe space now, because as I'm getting older and as more things are happening in the world, I don't just want to sit and do videos or photography, or, you know, pretend to be happy at an event when I'm not, or go to loads of events and plan loads of things because I feel like I really have to go to everything. And actually, just talking to myself or talking to whoever's listening, for me, is probably more real, because I'm just kind of speaking my thoughts at the moment in time. It's something I can, I guess, look back on or listen back to and go, oh, I was actually feeling this and this way during that period, or oh, I had a good day that day, or I had a bad morning that day, or, you know, that week wasn't great for me. So yeah, and I think even just like now, I'm rambling, but I think this is something that I've inherited from parents. You know, I think because apparently my dad used to be the same as me, making lists about things, making notes about things, analysing everything, writing everything down, circling things, putting lines through things, changing colours of things, doing little competitions and tournaments and the rest of it. So I've kind of carried on with that unknowingly and unintentionally as well. So obviously, yeah, I've got little video projects and things that I've worked on YouTube, like little games or spin-offs of, you know, America's Next Top Model and The Apprentice and things like that, that they're things that I've created and I created as I was growing up. And obviously it doesn't really mean anything and it isn't going to go anywhere, but for me it's just a bit of fun. I think I also attempted to do Big Brother, where I was all the contestants and I had different wigs, different hair, different jackets, t-shirts, but I don't have any of that content anywhere. I think because I was using it on Nan's computer, when obviously I've deleted my account or deleted whatever was on there, I must have accidentally deleted all those clips as well. But yeah, I remember doing that. That was really interesting. I literally was just there as 12 different characters, and I was filming it in a bit of a backwards order. So I was obviously filming one of the characters talking to someone else, and then I knew 3 episodes later that they'd get eliminated, so I then would film an elimination scene where I was, you know, kicked out of the Big Brother house. But yeah, again, that's kind of when I realised that, you know, not all TV is real, and not everything you see online is real, and, you know, social media isn't always real. So that's why for me I was very anti social media and then pro social media. As of now, I guess the only things that I use for private interactions and, you know, messaging friends and things like that, I've obviously got Facebook and I've got WhatsApp. I've got Facebook Messenger as well. That's the actual texting part. The Facebook's more for different groups or different opportunities or different LGBTQ plus stuff and events that are happening around the world, which again, I was very do I, don't I? And I was like, actually, you know what? I can mute them. I don't have to necessarily go to every single event. I don't have to engage with everything. It's just there, just in case in that moment I feel like I want to do something and it comes up on my feed at the right moment. Again, Instagram, I've got my photography account and my main account. And that's pretty much it in terms of my social life and my social world. Now I've got my 3 YouTube channels, and obviously I was delving in and out of TikTok. I tried Twitch and Discord and all those sorts of gaming platforms, and again, none of those were really for me. I did have so much fun on TikTok though, and just to quickly, you know, talk about that before I kind of close that chapter completely. From, I think during the COVID years, so 2020 up until 2021 or 2, I did make a lot of content on there. I was representing my university, I was a mentor, I was connecting with students and prospective students, I was making content for the social media platforms. I did an Instagram live, you know, to about 3,000-4,000, no, I think it was 15 or 16,000, you know, prospective students. Well, it might have been 4,000. It was either 4 or 40 or 3 or 30. I'm not really sure how many, but so many thousands of people were tuning into the thing, asking me questions about university life and, you know, the pros and cons of university, you know, money, how much do things cost, and nightlife, and if you don't go out, where can you go, like what are the library facilities like, etc. So yeah, for me that was an amazing time in terms of, you know, getting recognition and getting acknowledgement for the feedback and the information I was given, but also I do understand it was a bad time for everyone. You know, we were all trapped inside. We were all, you know, stuck with the people that we were stuck with. You weren't able to go outside. You weren't able to do shopping or cinema unless it was an emergency thing. You could go to the pharmacy if you wanted to, but it was all about protecting people, protecting each other. And, you know, it was a very weird time as well, seeing celebrities wearing masks and doing tours with, you know, well, not tours, but like smaller shows or with their families kind of showing themselves at home. And I think it was just a whole weird time. And I think that's when I started wanting to do my podcast and things like that to talk about real life. But because I was dealing with real life in real time, that for me wasn't the best place to do that. So yeah, that's kind of where I am in terms of life. Like I said, as of now, I'm working. I'm off of a lot of social media, but I'm just browsing, you know, every so often. Obviously, I'm a creative, so I'm always in and out of my creative mindset. Like, I really want to do creative stuff, and then I end up deciding against it. Or I really want to, you know, promote things online, and then I decide actually I'd rather just keep myself to myself for a little bit. So yeah, and I think that's just the unlucky thing about being in my head, that, you know, if I have a good day, I'll be making content, I'll be listing stuff online to sell, I'll be, you know, writing blog posts, listening to music, watching TV. And if I'm in a bad place or a bad mood, or my head isn't in the right place, I'll be wanting to sleep or not eat, or, you know, go for a walk. I feel like I'm just wasting my time. You know, every day that goes past, I'm like, did I achieve anything today? No, well, that's a wasted day. Like, I'll go and see, you know, Nan, have something for dinner, or I'll go and see a friend for lunch, or I'll go to work and come home. It's like, well, other than the standard things, am I doing anything else? No, that's a waste of a day. Obviously it's not, but that's just what my brain tells me. So yeah, but yeah, basically going back to that initial conversation, that, you know, podcast idea of the leather jacket, for some reason that decided to help me want to start my podcast again. But for me, it was kind of, I think talking about a leather jacket, it's not just as an item, and I think this is kind of what life stems back to, especially for me anyway, that you love things as much as they're loved until they don't need to be loved anymore, and then they can just disappear. And I think that's the thing for me. Like, the most important thing, as always reminded by my family and friends, is the family, the friends, and the people, and the real life things you've got with you. Items, stuff, you know, food, things like that. That's not real. They're just things that you need to get through life, or to get through your next days, or, you know, things like stationery, or things like pillows, things like bedding, things like, I don't know, pots and pans and cutlery and, you know, Christmas cards. Like, all these things are great, but if you throw them away, or if you sell them, or if you use them, it's not like it's a life or death situation. It's just in that moment you've used or done or experienced that thing, and then you kind of forget about it and move on. Whereas with people, they're the things you want to get closest to. They're the ones you want to make memories with. And, you know, off the record, I do have video calls with a lot of people, phone calls, things like that. I did also have a massive scare on my phone last year. So I think it was, I don't know when it was. I think it was like, was it November? I don't know if it was November or if it was a couple of weeks after my birthday or before my birthday. I'm not too sure. I think it was somewhere in March. But because obviously my phone is always locked and I never turn my phone off, I've always had to just do my Face ID and then it's logged me into my phone. Absolutely fine. This one time, I obviously turned my phone off for whatever reason. I was doing some sort of update, or the phone crashed, or, you know, I was re-downloading apps, and just thought, turn it off and I can easily just turn it back on, fine. But I've turned it back on, and I have so many different passwords for everything, which is good. It's good for a security thing. I have every single app that I use is kind of a different password, slightly different, but they're all different. So, you know, if you get one password for one app, you're not going to unlock everything else, because they're all different. They're all the same but different, if that makes sense. That's the easiest way to explain it. So it's like, one could be like Apple 123, one could be like Chicken 8910. So they're similar, but they're not, if that makes sense. In my head, they're similar, but to a normal person, they're not. And anyway, so I'd locked the phone, turned the phone on, couldn't remember the password, and I tried about 3 times. I locked the phone for 5 minutes. What a shame. That's fine. I did it again after the 5 minutes, locked it again, 15 minutes, and it kept going, because I just had a blockage in my head, and I could not remember my phone password. Bearing in mind, it's one of my variations of passwords. I just couldn't remember which one it was. So now I kept locking it, and then I had to wait for 8 hours to use my phone. I had to wait for 12 hours to use my phone, and then it was permanently unavailable. And I was like, oh god, like, I've tried it that many times that I genuinely just can't get the password right. I had to get my neighbour to unlock it. I then had to message everyone on Facebook to just say, look, I've locked myself out of my phone. I think it was mainly just my auntie and Rachel, really. Rachel's one of the girls that I want to say I'm quite close with. So, yeah, I only messaged the two of them just to advise them of my situation. Anyway, my neighbour managed to get the phone unlocked through iTunes, because I don't use any of that anymore. So, yeah, I don't use iTunes or Apple Music or Spotify. I don't pay for a service that I just am not going to use. Like, as much as they're great, I don't have the money or the energy or the space to be downloading things and, you know, messing around with MP3 files or YouTube converters and things like that. Like, that was the old times, and that's when I needed music. Now I can kind of live without the music, or I just play a song every now and then just to get me in a happy mood. But I got my phone reset, but obviously that meant that all of the notes, all of the contacts, all of the photos and videos that I had on my phone, and all of the apps as well, were basically cleared. So I lost, I think, 300 or 400 photos. I think I lost about 100 phone contacts. A lot of them were, you know, guys that I was talking to, or ex-work colleagues, current work colleagues, which obviously that was easy enough to get back. People from the past, like hairdressers. I had a couple of comedians on there, a couple of content creators' mum. So, yeah, I had quite a lot of contacts which just disappeared. And, yeah, I then also had a bit of a clearing out email addresses I didn't use anymore, clearing out content I don't use anymore. Again, going through wardrobes and cupboards and just getting rid of things for £1 or £2 just to get rid of them. So I think once my phone kind of packed up and I had to reset that, it just made me want to reset everything. So it was like, right, let me sit down, clear out stuff I don't need or don't use. You know, got rid of old pillows, got rid of old duvets, got rid of packaging that I didn't need. I was doing the rubbish more often, doing the clothes more often. So it was just getting rid of things that I didn't need. And yeah, so like I said, I lost all of those contacts and I lost all of that, you know, all those messages and photos and things. But actually, it's almost like a new start for me, which is why I wanted to come back and do a podcast now, because it's like, again, it's a new start. I'm coming with a fresh a fresh head of ideas, after so many bad things had happened, or, situations had occurred. It's almost like, just try again. Someone will listen to your podcast, and if they don't, at least you will. And yeah, like I said, it's just almost like a sense of freedom. But none of those people have messaged me back, not wondering, oh, where's Brandon gone? Like, I haven't heard from him in a while. I'll drop him a message. So yeah, I think that's a topic on itself, but that's just kind of a sign that, it's good that I've started off fresh, because I've only got 30 numbers in my phone, 4 or 5 social media apps on my phone. I'm not on TikTok, which for me was just, it was great, but I had a love and hate relationship with it. I loved it. I loved using it, and I loved, being able to create money and create networks and opportunities and things like that, and, buy stuff to then sell on there, or find items and make money off of it through like commission and stuff. But I also hated it because I was spending so much time on there. I was part of an agency which was absolutely fantastic. It was called Feral Agency, and the manager was great, and all the different teams I had were great, but there was just too much competition, too much drama, too much having to do this, having to do that, having to do this 1 hour a day, or create this type of content, or, it's not, I don't think there genuinely was pressure. I think I was just applying pressure to myself of, I have to go live for 9 hours a day, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to engage. And then a lot of the streams I was doing, I wasn't really engaging with anyone. I was just kind of sitting there doing my own thing on my phone or on Vinted, or, doing something, and I wasn't engaging. So people were coming in and saying hello and then just quickly leaving. So yeah, I think for me, it was good to try that world out, but it just really wasn't for me. So, but yeah, so that's kind of it in terms of like an introduction episode. So that's kind of where I am as of now. I hope any of that has helped any way at all. But yeah, I think for me, like I said, because my head works in a very different way, and I just sometimes just overwork myself, overpower myself. I get in my head too much. I think this is the best opportunity for me to start with creating podcast episodes again, and I won't be editing any of them either. I think unless I swear or say something rude or offensive, which I'm probably not, because I'm just going to be talking as if I'm having a conversation with, natural breaths and every so often an here or there, but that's normal and that's natural, and I'm not going to hide the flaws within my chat. I don't want everything to be perfect, because this is not about being perfect. This is about being genuine, and being genuine helps you get further in life. So yeah, that is it for my first podcast episode. It's kind of like my welcome back episode, but I just thought I'd just do a quick 20-25 minutes of just chatting. I've already got a few episodes that I'm going to go straight onto recording, so they'll be up at some point soon. But if you did enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you would like to be on a podcast, or if you would like to comment any suggestions for what you would like to be on an episode, then don't forget to drop them down below, and I will hopefully get on with them as soon as I can. And until then, thank you for listening, and goodbye.